and welcome back to the Blackpowder and Bloodlines YouTube channel. This is a little bit exciting because today we have a guest. So you may recognise her from her own YouTube channel.
Probably not.
TamWise Travels. Highly recommend it. There'll be links below. And so today we've just, because basically Tam came to our first event.
Yes.
And so we thought we'd have her on to talk about how she found it and some questions about what it's like to actually play Blackpowder and Bloodlines.
Yeah, because it's one thing seeing photos and just, you know, that sort of thing, but actually some experiences. Hopefully it'll encourage you guys to get out and actually try it, because I highly, highly recommend this game. I have so much fun, so the hype is real.
Good. So, to start off with, can you tell us a bit about your experience of playing Blackpowder and Bloodlines?
Actually I had a really great time. Before I even went, I actually contacted one of the organizers with my idea, which worked out really, really well, and he worked with me, asked the team about what would work and what might not work. I didn't get a lot of no's, to be honest. It was mostly just like some love and support, which I felt really great about. And they actually helped me above and beyond, I feel, because I was in Japan up to a few days before the event, like maybe like 2-3 days, something stupid. And then were able to help me organize food and stuff, which is now included with every ticket, and the food was amazing. And like, so any sort of like, oh, is this gonna work? I didn't necessarily have the ability to go and look through the whole rule book because I was in Japan. So to have that accommodating of a group, I thought was amazing. But gameplay itself, I felt it was quite immersive. People really stayed in character a lot. There were like interesting things going on. And I have to say, one of my favorite things, and I don't even think I've told you this yet, was the unknown of so much. Like, so there were these monsters, and honestly, I didn't even know there were going to be monsters, okay? I didn't. I had no clue. I thought it was just like a people thing, right? Yeah. So here comes this thing that was truly terrifying with teeth, just massive teeth. And like, we don't know what they're called. And there's this little mechanic which is awesome with the orcs, is when they're speaking to you as a non-orc, if you're a non-orc, they can only speak one syllable at a time, which is frustrating and amazing. And then, so they might have a word for this thing, like they know because they live here. They're like, oh, it's whatever it's called. Instead, we had someone who's like, they're sketching with charcoal and has made all these things and has just put Dentari up top. So they were the Dentari. Yeah. I don't even know what you guys called them, but no, now they're the Dentari. Yeah. I love the fact that the things that we did in game completely affected the game. And it did feel like the orcs are meant to be kind of like Vikings and that sort of thing. So we are coming and there's already a native culture there. They know things. It's whether or not you believe them. Yeah. And a lot of people kind of went like, oh, they're savages. But they'd say something and I'd be like, I think they're going to know that, right? Like, this is scary stuff. Yeah. So I thought that was really cool that they had so much information, but then they had a limited way of telling us. And then it's whether or not we could gain their trust to learn some stuff. Or if we just want to be silly and like barrel through things. Yeah. But spoilers in the first game, it doesn't spoil anything, sorry, is someone killed the barman one of the nights. Yes. And I don't know how and I don't know why, but then there was no more barman. And it just affected the whole game. It was like, well, if you wanted drinks, you shouldn't have killed him because he's not coming back. There's not a replacement barman. He didn't have an apprentice. So, you know, I found those things to actually be really amazing, because a lot of the games it'll be like, well, the show has to go on. And like, if it was food or something, I understand. Do not starve your players. Yes. But I felt like everything I did had an impact. Good. And I think that's probably my favorite part of my experience. That's so good.
So next question. Do you have any advice for new players or people that don't have a lot of role-playing experience?
Yeah. Number one is talk to the organizers. Like, pick one. There's quite a few, so whatever one you feel comfortable with. If you know them, if you don't, you can just go kind of generic and message the page, and you'll probably get picked up by someone. Yeah. And ask questions. Like, I have a great idea. I want a character. An example of a character last time, I think they might have been an NPC that we were trying to unify all the religions into one religion, and they died very quickly. People were not keen on that. So it's interesting because if I would have gone to you and be like, I want to be a character that wants to unify all the things, what kind of thing would you like?
I would have said that's really interesting.
Yeah.
This is like going against everything that the other characters from the game have ever known. So that's going to be a real challenge, but go for it. Let's see how that goes.
Yeah. So you'll get the perfect thing about what you just said is like, that's interesting. You're going against everyone, but have fun. Like, you're not necessarily going to get a no, but there's a warning. Like, if I wouldn't have known that, I would think like, oh, well, maybe that could be kind of cool. Yeah. No, religion is quite serious in this game. So people are going to take that quite offensively. So you're going to have a backlash. So if you're unsure, ask that question. Pitch your idea.
Even if you don't have any ideas. If you're like, wow, I'm kind of overwhelmed by all the options, where do I start? Contact us then as well. We can give you all kinds of help, get like weeding out what you really want to know. If you have like a bit of an idea but you don't know what religion to choose or whatever, we can help with all of that. Yeah,
and I found that to be really, really helpful as well. And then my second big tip is if you're brand new and haven't done any role play or anything like that, or you're really nervous, grab a friend, bring a friend along, especially if they're a little more experienced. If you don't have a friend that you can grab and bring along, that's okay. Make a new friend. Maybe do a little post like, hey, I'm looking at being from this nation, and keep it really vague because you don't want everyone to know your whole story. I'm wondering if someone wants to pair up and be a sibling or, you know, childhood friends. And I think that can really help having one or two people, or like, oh, I want to play a character who might have an illness or something, so I need a doctor to follow me around, which is very helpful, by the way. It's very, very helpful.
Or join a crew. We've got like a pirate crew and some other different groups, so if you do put your hand up and say, I'm kind of new and stuff, there'll be someone that'll say, oh, you should come and join us, we're doing this cool thing. Yeah, definitely. That's also great. It doesn't mean you have to spend a whole weekend with them, because we've designed the game that there's going to be multiple people. So if you decide you get in there and then you go, oh, I don't really like those people so much, but those people are really interesting, of course you can move. And that's definitely, it's very fluid. I found that was very, very fluid. So so how would you describe Blackpowder and Bloodlines to someone who'd only played the game, like sort of talk about the game? So I think the biggest thing for me is with swordcraft and battle games in general, it's mostly fighting. The things you do don't necessarily have as big of an impact on other things. Like your character just comes back to life. Like you don't have permanent deaths. You don't have, you know, like if you killed a barman in swordcraft, they just come back. It's fine. Where I feel like with Blackpowder and Bloodline, it's a lot more role play heavy. You have to think more seriously about your things. You would not just go and be like, I'm angry at these people and go kill them all, because then you've permanently killed these people's characters. So I think there's a little more thought towards what you do, how it affects things. And I think in a lot of ways it ends up creating more, like you care more about your character. You care more. I think it's a little more realistic in that way. So definitely watch out for bleed and things like that, because the bleed is real in a game like this in a very good way. So, I think that's probably the big things I would say. What would you say to someone who is thinking about coming along, but they haven't made up their mind yet, haven't bought a ticket? Just do it. Like, I know it sounds ridiculous, but you're coming into a community where there are so many people that just want to help. There's not really a lot of saltiness in this group. There's a lot of people who are just like, you need help with a costume? Cool. Have you tried this? Here's a pattern for this. Oh, I have spare this. Like, I was really shocked at like how much of a great community it already has, because it's only had one game. But the people running it, you guys have run so many other things, and have been part of the community for so long and done a whole range. Like, I met quite a few. Actually, I met you, your partner. I met, I think, half of the team at a parlor LARP. And parlor LARP doesn't have any fighting other than with like cards or depending on the game. But no physical fighting. So it's a higher emphasis on the story. So look, you're not going to get hurt unless you do something silly and trip yourself or something. There's very low risk for like physical harm or anything like that. You've got a lot of support.
you need help, grab a friend. But honestly, this is a great game to just like jump in and try. I think. Like, no worries.
Great. Can you? What were the highlights and lowlights of the weekend?
Okay. My best and my worst. The best was my death. I know that sounds really, really weird, but it had so much meaning, and it was so beautiful, and I think that's amazing. I think when I was there, and the other person died as well. And afterwards, we both had the biggest stupid smiles on our face. And someone came through and was like, "Oh, wow, what's going on here?" And we're like, "We both just died." Like, it was so weird, but it was so perfect for both of us. It was a great end to both of our characters' story, and it was so appropriate. And I love that it had that opportunity to grow and work. And no one was killed like on the first night, so this was like the last day in the morning. So it was perfect. Like, I think that was really great. Just some of the like really emotionally charged things, like even seeing like one of the Dentari, I don't know their actual names, but that's our call.
Dentari is fine.
The Dentari is fine. It's a great
We really
name.
wanted to do that because obviously you guys are new colonists going into a new world. So even if the Uruk or the orcs do have names for these things, they're not going to be the same. Like the Dentari, it's just perfect because it's the teeth and
it's so well done.
Absolutely making up your own
Shout out to Madeline for coming
up
with that.
I loved that like after like a couple of hours, all of the colonists knew that they were called the Dentari. It was like, you know, someone was coming up to me and saying, "Oh, the Dentari," and I'm like, I know what that is because it's actually quite descriptive, but it sounds like a, you know, a Renaissance name for that creature. Yeah, it was so well done. So good. Good job to the player who did that. Yes,
so
well done.
That was Madeline, I think, came up with that. So, so I saw one around the corner, and so my boots died right before I got there. Like, dead. So the only other boots I had a heel like this, which is a horrible thing, guys. Yeah. If I had more than 2 days, I would have fixed it, and I didn't realize until the morning. I was like, oh no. Oh no. Okay, fine, we'll make it work. And so I'm in these heels, which I never wear. They're like chunky, and here comes Dentari around the thing, and just the actual horror. Because I'm like, I wasn't a fighty character, and so I'm just like running, and then I have like a bodyguard and a medic, and they're trying to protect me and like usher me along, and then like luckily someone else pops out, and it's like, ooh, and I'm like, oh yes, go, like so self-preserving. So I loved that the monsters were truly terrifying. Like, there were a few, and everyone had different answers for, oh, well, that one, you just leave it. And then it killed someone. Like, no, they run away. We didn't know that. We got them all confused. It was so great. I love that there wasn't like, here's what the characters are, here what they aren't. You know, I think that's probably the biggest thing. Downsides should be twice a year. Yeah. No, like I think it was really great. I can't really pinpoint like anything big that I would change about it, to be honest. I know that sounds really stupid and pandering, but like no, I had a really great time, so I didn't have anything I was really really excited about. Yeah, so just trying to think of something.
Yeah, maybe it will come to you. Yeah. What do you think of our rules?
So I think,
we might as well combine the two questions. And our tokens, because our rules and our tokens, if you've watched the token video, you'll notice are quite interconnected. Yeah. What do you think of them?
So the tokens I love. I love that if, like, this is a perfect example. If someone has this, it means they can use Blackpowder. They can use a gun. So it was so easy to recognize what it was. There was no like faking or lying about what certain items were, and they were key essential items. Like wealth for a character had to be in and it's like a big amount of money. Like if you just wanted to, you know, barter little things, you could have your own things, which is fine. But if it's like, here's a stack of gold, like it had an impact. You knew what it was. You knew that it wasn't just a small amount. We weren't told specific, but it was like, this token represents enough food to last you through winter. Great. Yeah. like they were good size, nothing was too massive or hard to deal with, and I love the uniformity, like, and they did really represent it. It wasn't just like, this gold token is this red token is this. It was like an actual loaf of bread, guys. It was so cool. Yeah. This squishy loaf of bread, I liked it. So I love that. The rules were really well done. I found, like, I didn't know a lot of them because I was coming straight from Japan. So I was able to just be like, okay, what do I need to know about me? What do I need to know about me? There were a couple things I missed, but that was on me. And I learned them in game, which was very interesting because the way the rules work are, if you don't know it, it'll become apparent for most of them.
Yeah.
I guess unless you're specifically trying to craft something, but I didn't do any crafting, so.
But you get the crafting rules are in the playbook you get.
Yeah.
So if you play a crafter, you'll get given.
That's the other cool thing. Is I forgot about this. At check-in, so you've done your thing online, you actually have everything that applies to you on that bit of paper.
Yeah. So even if you don't read any of the other rules because you don't have time, just read that paper.
Yeah.
There were
it's
a couple
like
of people that didn't or missed the little clues that we put in there, but if you read that one sheet, you should be good.
And literally they said, these all apply to you, make sure to read them. So the people who missed it, because you check in and you were actually given, okay, so you have one black powder token, you have one this, you have whatever it is, and then it's given to you. If you have any questions, they were explained, which I really liked, and I did love the sheet. I totally forgot about the sheet, but it was really, really helpful having that little checklist of like, oh yeah, that's how that ability works, or whatever.
Yeah, well, this time around you should get it in an email as well, once you register your character. Yeah, cool.
I need to do that.
Yeah. Everyone does.
Yes.
But that's okay, because I've only just finished the playbook, so they're ready to go. Okay. And costumes. Obviously the costume standards are a little bit different from some of the other ones. Do you have any advice or what do you want to say about the costumes?
So the costumes, I feel like people really went above and beyond on this. Like, this is actual player's costume. Like, I said that in my video as well. Like, so much love's gone into it, but at the same time, like, there's workshops and stuff, and you can go a lot more simple. My dress was actually pre-purchased from Arm Street with a corset that I had, and then the cloak was, like, handmade. So, you know, you can do as much as you can do. And asking people in the community, there's a lot of places and people who sell stuff. So I find, like...
And we've tried, because it's a slightly later period, we've tried to make it so that you can, you know, depending on what kind of character you can probably pick up a lot of the basics just at your Savers and Pop Shop, whatever. And then, and build on it from there. But there is a good... Don't let the high costuming standard intimidate you, let it inspire you.
And I think that's just it. Even, you can say a high costuming standard, but you can also get a very affordable base set, because you don't have to be a rich character that has something this intricate. Like, there were so many people with simple costumes that were amazing. So I think it's just, long as you can keep within the time period, and there's a lot, I think that's something, I loved the inspiration boards that were up. So it was like, this is Angheim, which is where I was from, and there's like, here's photos. They did a really cool photo shoot that had people all in costuming. And then I believe there was like a Pinterest as well that had a whole bunch of different costuming to give ideas. And then you're put in a group for your area as well. So you can be like, hey guys, does this work? And they'll just tell you. They'll be like, oh, that might be a little too late, that might be a little too early, before you go out and buy it. So I'd say communication.
Exactly. And that's the same thing, like if you have your heart set on a particular style, then that might dictate which nation you're in, that kind of thing. Like if you just want to wear your swordcraft costume, then think about playing an Orc or Orc, because they're a bit earlier, and you know, if you want to go high Rococo, then maybe it'll be a Patrician. There's lots of options.
There's lots of options. So I think just even sending a message or putting a message on the Facebook page, I did find that people are really good. Like, you're not going to get people like, well, if you just read that. No, everyone's just like, oh, hey, have you thought of? I think there's a lot of that. So, it's a great community.
Okay, well, that's it. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Great. Also, go and check out the video on your channel with me.
We did a one on ours, or on my channel, so
So go and check that out.
It'll be super exciting. Yay, bye.